Well, here we are, stop number 4 of the FLW Tour here on Lake Cumberland, which is presented by General Tire. I got Scott Canterbury with me. Scott, obviously it's a little cool today.
It's a little cold. It's a little more than cool. It's a little bit cold.
Well, I mean, it did get up into like, I think it's like 50 right now, or it was at some point.
I don't know. It's just cold. You know, it felt good this morning when the sun was out, even though it was colder. But when it got cloudy, I mean, it may be 50, but it feels colder than that.
For sure. Luckily for us, it's going to warm up as we go through the week, so we shouldn't have to deal with this too much more. It was like 26, I think, this morning on my truck thermometer.
Yeah, it was cold. 23, I think.
Ooh, yeah. No thank you. But, you know, we're back here on Cumberland. Beautiful looking lake. We got a little higher water than we had last year. Kind of tell me about what the differences are. How's she looking this time around?
We got a lot more water this time, you know. Last time, you know, I didn't have a great practice last time. I ended up making a really good tournament out of it. I think I finished 5th or may have been 6th, 5th or 6th last year anyhow, and it was good. But, you know, I mean, caught a bunch of smallmouth, you know. I ended up weighing in some largemouths too the 3rd and 4th day, but, you know, I mean, I was keying on smallmouth, and I thought with this high water I could catch them again today, and, you know, the smallmouths didn't play as much today as I was hoping. You know, I caught a few, so just got to try to expand on it. It's a lot different than last year, and they're not as progressed as they were last year.
Sure, okay.
We had a lot warmer water temps. I mean, it was probably, you know, 8 degrees warmer, the water temps last year, and the fish were up trying to spawn. That's what they were doing, and it was pretty. You could go around with a jerk bait or a bottom bait and, you know, catch those smallmouths that were up shallow. And you could catch some 4-pounders, you know, some 3.5, 4-pounders. I never caught a 4-pounder today, but, you know, so we'll just have to see. There's a lot of big ones in here, I know.
Oh, I mean, for sure.
I like it. Last year was my first time, and I really like it because it sets up the way I like to fish. Once you dial in what's going on, you can sort of run around the lake and fish that pattern.
For sure. It's a very good pattern lake.
It is a good pattern lake.
It also, speaking of pattern, when I was on the water today looking around, it looked real spinnerbaity. I got a real spinnerbait vibe, and I got a real good jig vibe. Both of those things I feel like kind of fit in your court. So yeah, did you play with any of those today?
I didn't mess too much with it. You know, I did fish a jig some today, and I swung on one, but I didn't catch anything on a jig. But threw a spinnerbait a little bit, tried to crank a good bit. You know, I'm sure somebody's going to find them cranking because of the watercolor, and I hope I do. I mean, I love throwing, you know, wiggle warts and stuff like that. And if they'll get shallow, you can catch them on a, you know, a square bill, a balsa bait or something. But you know, we got to see what the weather's going to do. If that surface temp's going to climb up in these pockets and get the fish to get up in that water column where you can do that. And another thing is the waters came up so much, there's so much debris, it's hard to get to a lot of places that you want to crank. If you want to get in and parallel something, it's got a bunch of floating debris against it. It's sort of hard to fish it that way. So, you know, the jig may be a lot better option this week, you know, and I don't mind that at all.
Right. Well, you know, you mentioned compared to last year, the fish aren't as far along, but we are just coming off a full moon. We got a warming trend we're going to be in now. Do you think by Thursday, Friday, we will see a good push of fish up shallow? Do you think we'll see some fish even try to spawn, maybe?
I don't think there'll be any spawning this week at all. You know, being in between moons. If we were coming up on a moon next weekend, it would happen, but the water's still really cold.
What'd you see for temp, by the way?
You know, it varies. You know, this morning it was 49 in places, 50, 51, but, you know, that's, you know, 53 degrees. It's in those low 50s, and it takes a lot of warm sunshine days or a good warm rain really to warm these deep clear lakes up. If you get a big warm rain, it'll warm it up 7 or 8 degrees over in one day, but it just takes a while. I don't think there'll be any spawning. You know, there could be, but I'm not looking forward to seeing any on bed. Just hopefully I can figure out a little pattern and run around and catch some. I
got you. Well, the final thing I kind of want to ask is watercolor. Obviously, there's been a lot of rain here. The lake's up. I was down kind of on the lower end today, and it still looked dirtier compared to last year.
It definitely is.
Yeah, just kind of a rundown. How much of the lake did you see today?
You know, I put in here in the middle, and I went just up just a little ways, but I ran down a good little ways, and it stays about the same watercolor just about everywhere you go. You know, I'm going to fish, you know, I'll spend some time all the way up in the rivers and then further down. I got 2 more days, so. And you know, the watercolor looks really good to me. I love that dirtier water than it was last year, but I mean, we'll just have to see. You know, I think today may be the toughest day of the week too, being after that big front yesterday.
For sure.
And it got so cold and everything. And as it warms up, I think every day it should get a little bit better. It may not, but I think it should get a little better every day. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what this week has to hold, and maybe, you know, getting on a little bite and running with it.
Well, I think the bite will progress. Like you said, you got 2 more days to get after it, and worst case, you'll probably hear some turkeys gobbling. Yeah,
we'll definitely hear some turkeys this week, I'm sure. I just hope I can find some of those big brown ones. You know, this year we can weigh in that under 18 inches. You know, last year you could catch 2 and 3/4 pound smallmouths that were 17 and a half inches. You could catch a lot of them. I mean, I caught a few smallmouths today, but I struggled to catch smallmouths, and it wasn't like that last time. So, you know, if somebody dials in those smallmouth and can catch, you know, especially if they can catch the over 18s, because those are 3 1/2, 4 pounders. But
yeah,
if you can, you know, that seems to be a really good winning pattern here. If you can get some smallmouth and maybe mix in a largemouth or 2. I think Clark was leading after 3 days with all largemouths, but then on those, I mean, all smallmouth.
All smallmouths, correct.
But on those bluebird calm days, those smallmouths didn't want to play. The big ones didn't. I'm sure he caught a lot of 2 1/2 pounders the last day.
Caught a lot of non-keepers. Yeah. Yep.
And so this year it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, Scott, I won't waste any more of your time. I'll let you go warm up, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're rolling along here. We're going to talk to another guy who top 10 last year at Cumberland. We got Chris McCall with us today. I guess the first thing I kind of want to know is, how's it shape up compared to last year?
Well, the water course is a lot higher. And you know, I think the water's a little bit colder today, you know, from what it was when we started last year. But, you know, I think the fish, you know, it's going to warm up. I think generally it's going to be the same type stuff that they're on. And, you know, last year, the first 2 days of practice I had were not very good. And then I really got on them the last day. And I think you'll see a lot of that this year, too. You know, it's going to start to warm back up.
Sure.
And I think it'll get better as it gets closer to the tournament.
Well, I think, obviously, you know, water's up, water's dirtier than it was last year. Does that have you excited or more worried compared to?
You know, I like it being dirty because I like to fish dirty water better. You know, there's a couple baits that you really don't want it to take away because of the dirty water.
Sure.
And I haven't seen, you know, I've only seen a certain part of the lake today. I've seen some decent water, and I've seen some, you know, some dirty water. You know, it's just going to take time to figure out what's clean, what's not clean, what'll work where you're at. But I tend to like dirty water a little bit better. But last year I was fishing a lot of clean water, so that's just going to be touch and go.
Well, I brought this up with Canterbury, and you utilized a spinnerbait last year in your top 10. It seems real spinnerbaity out there. Do you think we'll see that play again this year?
Oh, I think you'll definitely see a spinnerbait bite, no doubt. I mean, the water's too right for it. You know, I was thinking about that on the way in a minute ago on these vertical lakes like this. You know, it ought to be a spinnerbait and a jig, you know, jerkbait, of course, and you know, those would be the three you know, things I would think would get big good. Or, you know, crankbait will probably play. But yeah, it's good. I mean, it should be a good power fishing tournament. You know, it's set up right, the water's right. It should be fun.
Well, you know, you look out at the lake and you see a lot of debris, and we've heard guys today kind of complaining about it. It's tough to get up on a bank and parallel it and crank it well. And does it seem like there's more stuff floating around versus last year? Because there was a lot of stuff floating around last year too.
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, you could, you know, I just remember going to the Evinrude trailer one day, and I mean, there were so many props tore up.
Oh yeah.
Last year from all the stuff. I tore one up, and you don't even have to hit it that hard, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, from what I've seen so far, it's a lot worse this year debris wise.
Okay.
And it's definitely, you know, there's definitely more of it that have seeped onto the bank. And it does make it a little bit difficult in some places for sure.
Well, as of right now, only 1 day of practice in. Where do you think the majority of the fish are lying in the spawn stage? Mostly pre-spawn?
You know, I'm sure that the majority of them are pre-spawn for sure. And I didn't catch any. You know, I caught a really fat spot today. The smallmouth I caught seemed like maybe they were males.
Okay.
And I didn't catch a largemouth today, so I couldn't really say judging by the fish. But yeah, I would think it's got to be, you know, mainly all pre-spawn.
All right. How do you think the tournament how do you think things are going to shape out by the start of the tournament? Because Thursday, Friday, it's supposed to be pretty warm. I mean, like upper 70s for air temp. So, I mean, how do you think things are going to change from today to the start of the tournament?
I think it'll just progressively get better. Now, I'm going off last year.
Sure.
Like I said, my first 2 days here practicing last year, I was like, man, this thing doesn't have any bass in it. and I know a lot of people felt that same way after the first 2 days. And then, you know, you could start to see the change that Monday afternoon. You started seeing a lot of fish starting to hang out in the trees, you know, just sunning. And so you could kind of see it coming. And then, you know, Tuesday it got warm. And if I remember right, we moved right into Wednesday, an off day, it was warm.
Yep.
I think you're going to probably see kind of the same thing. I mean, I haven't seen anything yet to make me think it's not going to be a good tournament, especially with the waiver. I mean, I think there'll be a lot of fish caught.
Well, the final thing I want to know is, you made the top 10 last year, so feel free to throw yourself in this hat, but give the folks watching this maybe some fantasy fishing picks. Who would you have on your squad?
Oh, man. That's a good question. You know, you'd have to have Clark on there, Clark Winlet, because it's, you know,
for sure,
jerkbait bite. You know, you'd probably have to put Scott on there because he catches them everywhere we go, and Brian, you know, Thrift. You know, I'm in a bad slump, but Andy Morgan doesn't stay in a slump. Andy Morgan's going to come out, and when he comes out, he's going to come out big time.
Oh, for sure.
And of course, Cody Meyer. You know, you got to have Cody on there. Cody's really having a good year. So those would be some of the guys I'd pick.
What about any dark horse? You got any names that maybe some of these people watching may not be too familiar with?
Man, you know, you might watch. Oh, dadgummit. I'm ashamed right now because his name escaped me. And I talk to him all the time. And as a matter of fact, he's a guy that helped me out a little bit last year, and he's fishing the tournament this year. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of it.
Where's he from?
He's from here. And I just William Campbell. I don't know why. I don't know why his name's escaping me, but he might be one that you know, he knows a lot about the lake. I know that. So he could definitely be one.
I like it. I like a dark horse pick. Well, Chris, I'm not going to make you stand out here and continue being cold. I'm going to let you jump back in that warm truck. Thanks for joining us, and good luck, man.
Appreciate it, guys.